Okay, good morning. 9th of Kislev. Gadol Torah, maybe Lefura Kol Chai, greatest Torah, because it brings healing to all living things. Who needs a refuah?
Bitzalel, Ruvain ben Devorah Leah, Yehudis Golda Basali Zahara, Chaim Yaakov Zeb ben Sarah, Yosef Yitzhak ben Leor, Basana, Gary Robert, son of George, Yaakov Shaul ben Hana Miriam, Yehudi Gila Bas Leah, Hinda Yehudis Bas
Who?
Haley.
Refuah Shlema B'Korev.
Amen. Hodia bat Orit, Roi ben Ruchama, Michal bat Menucha, Yisro ben Yamin ben Leah Gittel, and Noam Avraham ben Atara, Natan Yosef ben Olga Sarah, Sabrina Celestine bat George Leo.
Refuah Shlema B'Korev.
Amen.
Tuvia ben Avram, Devorah Leah Bas Rus Ahuva Liba. Anybody else? Yom Yom, today. The 9th of Kislev. Birth of the Mitler Rebbe in 1773, and the day of his passing in 1827. He is interred in Nazim. On the 9th of Kislev in 1793, the Alter Rebbe said a mimer, now part of chapter 53 of the Sefer Shel Beinanim. Chapter 53 is the last chapter in Likutei Amorim, Tanya. It discusses the first sanctuary. It also, by the way, discusses the second sanctuary. And it makes a very interesting point about after the destruction of the second sanctuary, he quotes a Gemara in Bruchas. The Gemara in Bruchas says that after the destruction of both temples, Mishachora Beis HaMikdash, from the time that the Beis HaMikdash has been destroyed, Ein le HaKodesh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, has no other dwelling place, Ela B'Daled Amis Shel Halacha, except in the 4 Amis, which is the private space of Halacha, which, of course, is our subject to the last week or so in the section in Tanya we're learning. So, chapter 53, it does discuss the first sanctuary. The next day, he said Chassidus again, which was a conclusion of that chapter. The Maimorim from Rosh Hashanah in 1789 until Yud Kislev in 1793, which included a collection of advice from earlier years, were all the basis for the 53rd chapter, the last chapter. Part of Chassidus that 53 is Gan, Nun Gimel, Gimel Nun, the garden. And that's the concluding chapter of the Tanya.
Today, I think it's pair case safer of all the chapters, not just that chapter, because it's plural. Pair case safer.
It's the end of all the chapters of the book, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the...
I don't know.
It doesn't say so. It says Mehem Nisadru Nun
Gimel.
Okay. From here, it was ordered all the 53 chapters of the Sefer Binyamin. Okay.
Likutei Amorim. Oh, no. Lessons in Tanya, for sure. But, Geras Kuntris Acharon. Essay 4. We're in the middle of it. on page 339. Yes, 339. And here in Likutei Amorim, and that's the whole book gets its title from that, even though it's various collections. We're near the top of page Kufnun Ches. Yeah. So we have said very simply that the mere doing of a mitzvah touches God at his deepest levels and connects us to him directly. And it's specifically the doing. And now inside, he left us with a hanging question yesterday that we have been using a positive mitzvah to discuss all this, particularly the positive mitzvah of the esrog. And he asked the question about what about the negative commandments? And he starts today by telling us that both the positive and the negative are equal in this respect, the respect of touching God at his deepest point. As he says, however, in addition, I'm going to tell you something in addition to what I've said before, which covers and is true of everything, of both the positive and the negative commandments. And what he's telling us is as follows. All the mindful fear and love, even of the angels, they're all created entities. I mean, seichel and midos, right, are part of the created constitution of the supernal man and the lower man. And in addition to in between, at the higher level, you have these angels, we call them angels, who have also these created attributes of seichel and midos, which give rise to midos that are empowered with intellect, which is like ava or yira, which we translate, a little bit freely as contemplation and meditation, intellectual love and fear. They're created things. They come from nothing to something. That's the process of creation. And they are, and in keeping with the tone of this, we could insert the word only. They're only the lower levels, right? The soul has 5 levels. The lower levels are nefesh and ruach. And of course, there's the lower one and the upper one, which is neshama. But he's bringing down the point that it's coming down, down, down. So these love and fear, which are born from mindfulness, mindful love and fear, intellectual, seichel is intellect, but as I say, I like to think of it more. It's not about being an intellectual. That's why I don't really like that word, and really translate it mindful love and fear. But these are creations, things that come out in the world of Bria and come down in Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. In contrast to the Pirtei HaHalachas, the specific laws. What are the specific laws? In contrast to the contemplative powers of the soul, or the contemplative powers of the angels, or any notion of seichel and midos at any level, the particular halachas, hein hamshachas chachma Allah dehamitzel borachu. The halachas, in contrast, are, and I could interject the word direct, but it's not written here. They are drawings down of Chokmah Allah, of the emanator himself, the emanator Baruch Hu, not his attributes, but himself. And this is the most, I think, succinct way of putting what the mitzvahs are. They are drawings down of the emanator himself. Hamalubeshes begashmius, as that emanator is enclosed in physical things, because most mitzvahs involve physical things. The halbasha zu, now this, we use the word enclothement. He wants to point out to us, don't make a mistake about the use of the word enclothement here. The word of enclothement here is not like the investment of the supernal Chokhmah into mindful love and fear, right? In the Seder of Histalshalis, Chokhmah gives rise to Bina. Right? Bina gives rise, the two of them give rise to Das. And that inter-inclusion, that combination, that mixture of Chokhmah and Bina, which is Das, becomes given over to Chesed on the right, Gevura on the left, and we could go down that way. Okay, that's a helbasha, that's an enclothement. In other words, God himself is dressing himself up, so to speak, in certain ways of presenting himself, either as a chochem or as a kind person, etc., etc. This word helbasha we're learning here is not like that. The hasam halavush hu malu, because in the kind of dressing up that I just described, that dressing up is malim umaster lagamri. It completely conceals God himself. We see the actor, but not the one who is responsible for the action. We see him acting in a particular way. He's a chastan, he's a rachman, etc., etc. He's a chochem, right? These are roles he plays, if you put up, dresses that he puts on. And that conceals what's inside. Like the concealment and the hiding and the concealment of the earth, this physical, coarse earth, in relation to Chachma Ilah, in relation to the supernal Chachma, Hamalubish Ba. The supernal Chachma is invested in everything. As we'll quote the Pasuk soon, Kulam b'Chachma Asisa. He creates everything with Chachma, but you don't see the Chachma. And we've used this meshal before of the dirt. The dirt covers over, it conceals the seed, but at the same time, it's the energy which causes the seed to sprout. But if you just look, you're not seeing that sprouting force. You're not seeing that godly energy. You're seeing dirt. So that's a concealment, a dressing up, so to speak. Moshe Kislev, as he says right now, Kulam b'Chachma Asisa. He makes everything with Chachma, but the Chachma is concealed. V'hainu chitzonius the kelim de malchus of Atzilus Shabasiyah. If you want to know specifically how it works, there's a very detailed, looking at the earth, and now we'll look at the blueprint for the earth, so to speak. There's an investment of Chokhmah Allah, where in the externality of the vessels of Malchus, of Atzilus, Sheba Asiyah, right? The externality, right? There's also already is something that's not panemius, right? And it goes down and down and down and down into Malchus, and even down to Malchus, as Malchus invests itself in Malchus of Atzilus, invests of itself in the world of Asiyah. Shahi, which this Chokhmah is misuteres lagamri. It's completely hidden. Biruach nefesh d'asiyah, in the spirit of the soul, the lowest levels of the soul of Asiyah. But likewise, Bria, and similarly in Bria, he misuteres. Again, the Chokhmah is covered over, dressed up, covered over in the chain of descent that is responsible for the creation of worlds. It's misuteres lagamri. It's completely hidden. Beruach nefesh, in the lower levels of the soul, which is the ruach and the nefesh, shechem b'chiyas nevronim, which, as we said before, even in regard to the angels, these are created entities. And a creation is, the definition of creation is godliness concealed. Behester behelem aboira, in the hiddenness and the concealment of the creator from the created. Behester behelem haboira hanivra, in the concealment of the creator from the created. That's today's Tanya, really short. I mean, the next sentence is, you're going to say, Macha'enken halachas. The halachas are not like this. And that teaser will be, we'll get to tomorrow. Unusual short piece. Okay, any questions on that or comments on that? Any takeaways or thoughts?
I don't know if you hear me.
Yeah, I see. I saw your chat. It's a little. We're hearing you though. Go ahead.
Hello? No?
Yeah, you don't hear us?
Every once in a while.
You
Um,
don't. Go ahead. Well,
all,
you could tune in later.
all I wanted to say is that this just reiterates what we've been saying, that the most direct connection with Ratzon Hashem is through the halacha. Halacha being defined as how we do use our physical world.
Absolutely, as we've been saying, right, day after day, this whole last piece is all about the davar mitzvah, the thing of the mitzvah, not the intentionality associated with it. All right, then if there's Elisheva, you have your mic open. Do you want to say something?
Well, the whole thing is kind of dumbfounding me because it's like
Why?
chitzonius of the chitzonius of the bia of the malchus of Atzilus.
Well, think of those things as level after level of concealment after concealment, until you get down to the dirt where you don't see God at all. You just see dirt.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I said. The technicalities for us, well, me, maybe you're different than me, are not so important as the general concept here. The general concept is that generally godliness is enclosed, meaning you could say camouflaged, or the words he uses, hidden and concealed in layer after layer after layer of externality, until God, it looks just like a clump of dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've learned before that that's a huge concealment because the clump of dirt has hidden in it the koyach hasameach, the power to grow. But you don't know that until you stimulate it with a seed. And so the seed, this little thing that looks like nothing, is going to bring forth the hugest, the biggest of godly powers. So this little mitzvah, this little davar mitzvah, this thing, this davar, this physical thing, has that capability to unleash the highest, deepest powers of Hashem, higher than any halbasha, higher than any enclothement, higher than any level of creation, of creativity, but it touches him himself deeply. That's the whole point. The whole point. It's not that halbasha of concealment. It's a direct infusion of essence into the esrog, for example, and the doing of the taking of the esrog and doing the mitzvah releases that mitzvah milashon savta behiva kabbalah connection. We connect not with the effusions of God, one level, hatzonius after hatzonius after hatzonius, but with God Himself.
With godliness itself. It's not
godliness itself.
Why can't we stay with God Himself?
Because this is an old discussion, Elisheva. I'm laughing because we've had this side discussion so much. Because God is beyond any definition and any grasping. If you search after God, will you find Him? No, because He's nowhere to be found. Because He's so beyond place and time that any notion of reaching Him is impossible.
But isn't that the paradox?
Go ahead.
The paradox of He's nowhere, but He's everywhere. But
He's nowhere, but He's everywhere at the same time. Exactly.
So I wouldn't. So the halbasha is dechila v'rechimu. So dechila v'rechimu, what you translated as the interesting sichlim, dechila v'rechimu sichlim. You said they were like the logical.
I called it mindful instead of intellectual.
The
mindful love and fear. But you could translate in mindful, full of the love and fear that's generated from thinking, from intellectual activity, from the mind. Yeah, what about it?
So that is a halbasha?
That's a halbasha.
That is a halbasha.
Yeah,
the esrog is not a halbasha, but the chili sichlim is a halbasha.
Exactly.
Which is to say that it's more removed.
Which is more removed?
Ava v'yira. Our ruach.
Yeah, they're just They're expressions of himself. I love you, right? I'm an I, but you're seeing love. You're seeing an expression of myself. You're not seeing the essential me. So where do you want to, if you want to see the essential me, which is literally unseeable, untouchable, but where you can experience that connection between that level of godliness is in the mitzvah, the Devar mitzvah. Mitzvah is savta bechibor. Mitzvah connects you with, well, I mean, look, we'll go back to what we learned earlier. What is the mitzvah? The mitzvah is a manifestation of God's delight, his tainug, right? It's sourced in the deepest levels of the crown. And that's what Rivka means. It's still somewhere. It's still somewhere. It's not, crown is still somewhere. But crown is a different somewhere than all the other, than the 10 spheres. Crown is a makif. It has that characteristic of being not definable because it's everywhere the same, right? But it's his most intimate source of pleasure. The experience of that and the object of that is the Devar mitzvah.
Wow, so we should think about it when we're doing a mitzvah.
You bet. There we go. Take that away and run. Yeah. You're right. We get lost in these fancy things. It's the simple thing. What God is called, that's interesting. God is called Taklis HaPashitas. God himself, now we're talking about himself, even deeper than anything you can say about him, including his tainug, is the Taklis HaPashitas, is the ultimate of simplicity. It's like, if you could go at more simple than a point, right? We use the point as the origin of God's Chachma, Yud Chachma, right? But that's already a something. Try in your mind to get deeper than a point, deeper than something which itself has no dimension. That's a point, and get deeper. Then that's the place where you can't really get there, but you can have a sense of getting there if you could just imagine getting to a place that's beyond place, getting in a time which is beyond time. Then you can be talking about Atzmus. Atzmus Ein Sof, the essence of the Ein Sof. And everything else, even that point, is just or. It's the Etzem or Ein Sof. You'll see these two expressions, right? It's Atzmus Ein Sof and Atzmus or Ein Sof. And no matter how deep you get, if you get only as deep as the point, which has zero dimension, you're in the origin of the or Ein Sof. That's where the kav begins, in that point. You guys are learning about the kav with Ayin Beis and Ayin Beis, I guess.
Well, he mentions it.
But all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think Elishev is learning Ayin Beis, because I'm in the Ayin Beis group and I see comments going from the various people. Yes.
But and also so that pleasure that Hashem gets from us doing a mitzvah, that's included, learning Torah and davening is included in that mitzvah.
Sure, because they're mitzvahs. Limud Torah is a huge mitzvah. Prayer is a mitzvah.
But it's interesting that like a lot of times you hear, okay, what's better, the Limud Torah or doing mitzvahs, when Limud Torah in itself is a mitzvah.
Godel Torah shemevi l'dei maaseh. Right? They debated the same question. Which is greater, Torah or mitzvahs?
But learning Torah in itself is a mitzvah.
Yeah, learning Torah in itself. And that's one point. It's a mitzvah in itself. And its greatness brings you to deed. Because Masa hu ha'ikar. Torah is one mitzvah, right? I mean, Torah is two things. It's an understanding. It's a limud, lashon hara. It's a teaching. And at the same time, it's a mitzvah to get involved in learning Torah. So it has two qualities. But one quality is it itself is a mitzvah. And as a body of wisdom, what's its greatness? The greatness of Torah as a body of wisdom, as a teaching, isn't all the deep things that we love to think about, and all the worlds and the layers and layers and the understanding. It isn't. The greatness of Torah is Shemeri L'Dei Masa, that it brings you to deed. Okay.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
You.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.